XANTARES is one of the most influential players of modern CS, with his lightning fast peaks and quick aim decimating opponents and leaving them questioning how he just suddenly appeared on their screen.
Mr. XANTARES.
However, although he is most famous for his signature xantarespeek, which we will discuss, don't worry about that, but what does XANTARES do in all other situations? The slow crawl of the mid round, the solo lurk, situations where going fast and making noise can lead to death. So how does XANTARES manage to stay so sharp in these slower parts of the game, and what can we do to replicate the power of the xantarespeek? Psst, hey kid. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a 24/7 online trading service for CS2 that is extremely easy to use. You just select your skins that you want to trade, the skins that you want to trade for, and they'll send you the offer. Right now, they are offering up to a 30% bonus on your first deposit, and up to 35% if you use my code WAZOO at the top, along with an additional free $5 if you make a trade worth $100. That's a lot of free money. Check out SkinsMonkey today and use my code WAZOO. Thank you, SkinsMonkey. If there was one singular thing that I want you guys to take away from this video, is to peek like you mean it. For most players, playing Counter-Strike frequently makes them complacent with a lot of their movement. They know that they're supposed to clear the area, but how often do people actually play there, right? This happens all the time, from the newest of players to the best of pros. Everybody misses angles from time to time due to carelessness, except XANTARES. Usually, I glaze the pros that I talk about in this series to hype them up a bit and make you care about what they do. But in this case, I don't have to. XANTARES is the most prepared player that I have ever seen. That might sound backwards considering the fact that XANTARES is known for his speed, so surely he has to sacrifice safety in the name of that speed. But here's how he can manage both. Let's start with the neutral game, where you're not just holding W and running it down. A hallmark of XANTARES' gameplay is the constant use of stutter stepping, which is when you constantly counterstrafe in the middle of your peak to always be ready for a gunfight. Most other pros, and players in general, are a lot smoother in the neutral game, using shift walking to do a majority of their movements, and sometimes slowing down with crouch to vary their movement and to remain accurate, but only counterstrafing once they engage with their opponent. Stutter stepping is far slower than conventional movement, but there are a few key benefits that XANTARES utilizes. The first is that the individual movements of a stutter step are faster than a continuous shift walk, as each movement in a stutter step is a silent peek, where you take only 2 or 3 full running steps to prevent a footstep from being played. If done correctly, a silent peek should bring you up to a speed of around 190 to 200 hammer units per second. Compare this to shift walking, which only brings you up to a max speed of 130 hammer units per second. In other words, stutter stepping is about 50% faster than shift walk peeking. The second benefit is that you will be more prepared for each angle that you clear. The constant stopping of movement gives you time to process each new situation and time for you to reset your crosshair placement. With shift walking, the continuous movement requires more tracking skill onto the angle that you want to clear, and your crosshair placement may not be as sharp with continuous motion as it would normally be if you constantly reset yourself. On the defensive end, stutter stepping instead of jiggling allows you to be completely ready for a peek, as you're already standing still, whereas you would have to counterstrafe off of a jiggle. This is a bad example, but we can also see XANTARES do this in pro games to great effect. But nobody cares about the neutral game. We're all here for the xantarespeek. If you don't watch a lot of professional Counter-Strike, or haven't watched a lot of Counter-Strike in general, a xantarespeek, or a Ferrari peek, is when you utilize your character's full running speed to peek a corner, giving your opponents less time to react. This is greatly exacerbated by peeker's advantage, where ping differences can desync a peeker's peek on the defending player's screen. But it still works very effectively even if the ping differences are minimal. One way that XANTARES sets up a Ferrari peek, which is what I'm going to call it for the rest of this video so that I don't say XANTARES 100 times and accidentally summon him, is by pathing in a way that 1. Allows him to peek an angle strictly horizontally, and 2. Peek the angle while maintaining full speed. Many players in this situation would just run down mid while maintaining crosshair placement on the left side bracket, effectively turning this into an angle hold situation. But this is not a great idea. By running in a straight line, or functionally a straight line, it makes it easier for a defending player to line up a shot and harder for you to counterstrafe off of, since your middle finger has to hit both W and S while your ring and pointer finger are on separate keys. But if you peek perpendicular to your opponent, or at least as perpendicular as you can get, then the mouse adjustments needed to be on target are a lot more difficult, and you can counterstrafe a lot easier. Combine this with fast movement speed, and suddenly the defender has a lot harder time aiming. Now, you can set yourself up for a Ferrari peek on all angles, but if you have the option to give your opponent a harder time of hitting you, you should absolutely take that option. Here, XANTARES swings out mid from bottom banana to peek the left side bracket, and once he sees nobody there, he starts running forward. But since there's still a possibility of a player being on left side, he moves towards the left cubby of mid, giving him the space necessary to build up speed for a Ferrari peek again, where he picks up the kill. In this round, XANTARES does barrel straight down mid, but he has a teammate ready in alt mid to get his trade. With the space on the right, he swings towards right brackets, although he doesn't catch anybody with this initial peek. These two rounds showcase how XANTARES paths to specifically set up his signature Ferrari peek. But it's not only his Ferrari peek that makes XANTARES feel so fast, it's also how he responds to openings and picks in a round. This is not necessarily a common problem for most people, but for a very noticeable minority, once that first kill of a push comes through, whether it be by entry or a pick from another teammate, the entry fragger just does not move. They'll go back behind cover to reload, they'll hesitate and wait for a call, they hesitate when there is an opening, giving the enemies time to set up a counter. So PSA for everybody scared to push. By delaying your push after you've taken first contact, you not only give time for your enemies to rotate, but also for other enemies nearby to turn towards you, giving away any element of surprise if you are making a silent contact play. In this round, XANTARES' team is slowly pushing up onto lane to take A site. His teammate Wicadia finds the pick, and as soon as the kill goes through, XANTARES instantly swings towards Moto and picks up the kill. In another round, XANTARES is playing as the second entry, and once his teammate finds the kill, he runs forward and clears out Mini Pit, but then gets traded out. However, if XANTARES hadn't cleared out Mini Pit as aggressively as he did, the CTs would maintain a strong crossfire onto the A site, which would have significantly hindered the Ts from pushing up. Making sure that you take advantage of the space that you or your team generates will help you consistently convert advantages in a round, which will lead you to winning more games and more elo. But that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if I missed anything, and if you enjoyed the content, consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Other than that, I'll see you guys very soon.